we are talking about TVET reforms, technical and vocational education and training in Kenya. The government says it has invested a lot in this sector to ensure that Kenyans who do not attain the required marks for joining university are at least trained within these technical and vocational institutions for them to be able to learn some skills to then put to use at work and perhaps within their own forms of employment, whether personal employment or whatever the case that is. And I'm joined in studio right now by four gentlemen. To the farthest is Mr. Dr. TVET Desai, who is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, joining us today on behalf of the government. We have in the middle Professor Stephen Ondieki, who is the Chairman of the TVET Certification Council. There has been a lot of issues around curriculum development and, changing it to suit the market needs. He'll be talking to us about that. Then we have Japhet Mwanzia, who is a former student, actually an alumni of the Nairobi Technical Training Institute. He studied automotive engineering, also to talk to us about the experience of the students in these institutions. And to my left is Frederick Obiero, who is an automotive engineering trainer at Rift Valley Technical Training Institute in Eldoret. Welcome, gentlemen. Let me start with you, Bwana PS. The Deputy President is on record as saying that since 2013, when the Jubilee government came to power, they have invested a lot in technical and vocational training institutions by building capacity and infrastructure as well. What is the extent of this investment, do you think?
It's been considerable in view of the importance of technical vocational training to Kenya's development agenda, yes, socially, economically, and environmentally, and primarily because technical vocational training is a great enabler, a key component, a key pivot towards the development agenda, whether it's the Big Four, the transition of our micro, small, medium enterprise sector into highly competitive and productive sectors, as well as the promotion of self-employment and gainful employment of our youth. The investment to date has been on infrastructure. We have 140 institutions that have been created and established, upgraded with the necessary equipment and technology. This investment has also included greater train-the-trainer capacity. Today we are in the process of hiring 2,000 more trainers, addressing an acute shortage of trainers within our institutions, and the necessary welfare programs and incentives that transform a trainer to be more like a coach or a supervisor, in that they're able to not only promote skills and promote upskilling, but they're also able to create new enterprise and incubate enterprise and provide consultancy and provide solutions for productivity, innovation, and efficiency to our industry. The investment has also included capitation as well as bursary schemes, thereby promoting greater access and equity to young people. I'm delighted to tell you that we have an enrollment to date of 190,000 students in our institutions.
Is that the highest we've had in the country?
Yes, it's the highest, and it's a 130% increase over last year. But we look forward to a lot more. We look forward to, by the end of next year, 400,000 and onwards to 1 million, primarily because a country needs 10% of its population enrolled in TVET in order to create the necessary bedrock of artisans, craftsmen, master craftsmen, technicians, and technologists. All of this has been an investment that promotes a return of investment with respect to productivity, innovation, and efficiency for our country.
All right, Professor Stephen, it's not just, sorry? Professor Charles Ondieki, I beg your pardon. It's not just investment in infrastructure, all right? You are also talking about curriculum development so that you suit the training to what is needed in the job market at this point in time. What have you done as the TVET Certification Council to ensure that at least you develop something that is specific to the job market requirements?
Thank you, Edmond. I think maybe I will start from the beginning.
Yes.
Where in this country, what we have been having and what's going on is what we call the traditional curriculum, which is mainly developed by Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. And this curriculum development, the graduates do not satisfy the employers in terms of the skills that come out of it. So the government found that we need to change so that what we train, the people who come out have got the necessary, the skills that the employers require. And these skills will be more productive. Instead of the company, after employing someone, to spend a lot of money again to train of what they want, we need to shift it, the training itself to be in the training institutions. And that's why we have changed from the traditional curriculum development into the competency-based education and the training approach. Now, here, the competency in the sense that when you train someone, the person should have the knowledge, the skills, and the attitude that is necessary for that person to perform at the workplace. Now, that is why the government changed, and we moved away from the traditional to the present situation where we are developing the competency-based curriculum. At the moment, we have, up to now, we have already developed more than 202 curriculum. In fact, we have covered almost all the curriculum that were being offered at the TVET institutions. And what we are now even doing is to prepare the trainers to be able to train and assess the students. Now, we have what we embarked on is first exercise we did was to develop a course for the trainers to know about what is this TVET, or competency-based education and training. And we did that, we trained over 2,500. Yes. Then later, we had to start now training specifically for assessment, because assessment is the key in terms of competency-based curriculum. And we have already, up to now, we have trained more than 1,000 assessors and verifiers. I will explain exactly what the meaning of assessors and verifiers are, okay? Later. Now, after that, we realized that to be train all these people all over the country, it will take a very long time. So what we have done, we have trained 350 trainers of trainer. These 350 people are going to train others. And in this month of April, yes, we are going to train over 4,000 trainers. All right. By the end of that, there will be no institution which will claim they don't have anybody who can train and assess the students.
All right, Professor Charles, we'll come back to that in terms of the training and the capacity building that you've had to do. Let's talk to a trainer who works with RVTTI Eldoret, Frederick Obiero. They've, of course, revised the curriculum, as he says. And you, as a trainer, what are some of the changes and the differences you've seen from how you trained before and how you do it right now in terms of what the government has been able to do?
Well, thank you. Just like the Prof said, yes, I also went through the training, and you find that we have the curriculum that we are using, and in fact it's still going on. It's coming from the KICD, and we say that the standards are being made by the teachers, because the teachers are the ones who are in the KICD. But right now we find that we collaborate with the industry. Now, like us, we have a collaboration with the Toyota Kenya as an institution. We have signed an MOU, which was done late February, I think so. And there are so many benefits that we are getting from Toyota Kenya, and which is also, it's also flowing towards the other activity institutions through the PS. And even I think on 26th, between 26th and 29th of March, we went, the instructors of the TVET institutions were in Toyota Kenya for training and seminar. And I think that is a good approach to this TVET training.
All right.
Yeah.
Japhet, as an alumni or someone who's gone through this process, would you say your experience there was beneficial in terms of, being taught the skills and you being able to experience them in practice?
Yeah, automatically.
Okay. How was the experience for you in training there?
Quite fantastic, quite nice.
Sorry?
It's quite okay.
It was quite okay for you?
Yeah.
So did you acquire the skills that you required at the end of the day that you're able to put into practice at work at this moment in time?
60% of what I practice day by day, I acquired from Nairobi Technical Training Institute.
And you use it right now at work?
I use it right now. I have developed.
Yeah.
I improve day by day. You read online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What form of training did you go through as a student there? You graduated with a certificate in automotive engineering, really. What was the experience for you? What did you do on a daily basis aside from the theory work?
Theory work?
Yeah.
It was about motor vehicle industry.
Okay, so did you actually have the time and the experience of working with a motor vehicle at the institution?
Yeah, I had an experience. Okay. The school was quite equipped, so I could acquire the knowledge. Then I went straight away to job.
All right.
Yeah.
But P.S., the last time you were here, you were, I think, preparing for a career fair of some sort, and that's where you're going to be talking to prospective students about what you have and the changes that you've made that you're talking about now. Was that beneficial in any way? Did you see an increase in uptake or interest from students?
Yes, as part of the national investment to the transformation of technical vocational training,
yes,
the two challenges have always been: how do we ensure that young children, from the onset of their programs, whether they're in primary school or high school or have completed their education, understand and appreciate what goes on in industry? And what are the processes and what does industry require in terms of those skills, technical, attitudinal, life skills, cultural values, national values, and so on. And the other most important aspect is how do we ensure that private sector in a creative way introduces its transformation, its innovation, its business models, its processes to the youth. And such an event then brought about that innovation. It brought the private sector to demonstrate what goes on in their factories and their service organizations, and for young people to imagine that truly them being gifted naturally with curiosity, creativity, and resourcefulness and energy could have a direct alignment of value, purpose, and hope in such structures. And this event effectively did this. And it's part of the challenges we face nationally today towards reform. It's to address aspects of the stigma, the importance of technical vocational training, especially in its importance to being a game changer. The big idea to link standards, as my colleagues have said, to outcomes of productivity, innovation, and efficiency. The new national system of competency-based education training, at its lifeblood, is all about achieving standards. The ability to repair a vehicle or a brake system of a vehicle to the necessary manufacturer standard. The ability to create hospitality and industry to a standard of health care, as well as occupational standards that are integrated in this. All of this then relates to competitiveness. It relates to us being internationally competitive, a young person being able to find a job and being gainfully employed, or creating opportunities, a welder being able to weld to international standards. And standards, therefore, are central to what we do, central towards how we train, and these standards are then verified using assessment, which means that we're breaking away from the past where it's a theoretical exam to a present where industry, side by side, the trainer, assesses the student and verifies that the standards in terms of health, technical, attitudinal skills, life skills are met before the trainee is either passed or retrained. Such is the determination to ensure that we get the absolute transformation and the best possible prospect for our youth.
You said there are 140 institutions right now. Are all these initiated and run by government, or do you have partnerships with, say, county governments, constituency members of parliament, building some of these institutions within their own areas of jurisdiction, and then you register them as well?
Yes, those institutions, 140 are by law each TVC per constituency. We have an additional 11 polytechnics, 11 science technology institutes, 4 special needs institutions, and approximately 900 institutions of vocational training in the county. Those are managed by the county, but ultimately the quality assurance and the accreditation and the development is achieved by the national government. We have released approximately 2 billion in conditional grants, but with a view of seeing to it that they appropriately develop their competencies and capacities to fit into our value chain, starting from artisan, that they would specialize in, and craftsman, and we would go on to do the master craftsman, technician, and technologist level throughout the value chain of skills development.
All right. Just hold on. Let's take a break. We will be back with this discussion to just get to understand what the government has been doing in terms of reforming the technical, vocational and education training institutions within the country, and what you can do as someone who maybe wants to join some of these institutions and are thinking about what this would do to you, what kind of training you will be put through, and all of that as we come back within the next hour. Don't go too far. I'm still here with my panel. We are discussing the technical, vocational and education training institutions and reforms in the country. The government has invested quite a lot in terms of just building infrastructure and capacity, and making sure that Kenyans would at least want to enroll in these institutions have the opportunity to do so. I'm still here with my guests. Let me come to you, Professor Charles. You are talking about the competency-based education and training, all right, where you develop a curriculum that actually works for what the market needs. But a lot of young people think university is more lucrative than, say, a technical or vocational training institution. And I'm sure this is something you've had in the past. But let's be honest, I went through a university system, and to a certain degree, you might not get the actual experience in terms of, doing the handiwork that is required of you during that training process as much as you might get within a technical and vocational training.
Thank you. I think you are right. What happened is, for a very long time, people have come to realize, or they according to them, is that university was the climax, was the best. But then as the years go by, they have realized it's not. Because one is that the people who finish from the university, and I will give you an example of an engineer. Myself, I'm an engineer. You find someone is a mechanical engineer, and goes out, or motor vehicle for that matter specifically, and cannot even repair. And he has his own car, it breaks down, he will look for a mechanic. I have myself asked one of the engineers, between you and the mechanic, who is the engineer? Who is the actual engineer now? Is it you or, because you are theoretical, but the mechanic, he has got a little knowledge which he uses, and the skills. That is what it is. We don't want to produce anybody goes out there without having known what to do. In other words, what you are saying, it's not enough to explain to us what you can do, but we want you to demonstrate that this is exactly what it is. Now, the question, I will come back to the competence because there is a process. One is that we are involving, as the PS said, the industry. In fact, the industry is the key. How do we involve them? We develop our curriculum using occupational standard. These occupational standards are the occupations that are being done in the industry, the respective industry. So we have to have the industry being involved from day one to the end.
All right, so you involved the industry and some of these, potential employers, say in manufacturing and industries and all of them, when you are developing this curriculum.
That's right. If we are developing a course for maybe welding, there are employers who are dealing with the business of welding. They are the people qualified to tell us, this is what we require, this is what we want a person to be. So that we also form, because you cannot involve all the employers, but they choose people who can be representative. And this one, they form what we call Sector Skills Advisory Committee, who work with the TVET Certification Council to develop the occupational standard, which later on we use to develop a curriculum by what we interpret the occupational standard into learning outcomes. And then we go further. We develop assessment tools because we want to know, the employer will tell us, when we want this person, he should have been assessed on A, B, C, D. So we develop with them.
Based on what the industry wants.
And we write down.
Right.
So that this assessment, even if you did in Kisumu and someone else did in Mombasa, it will be the same because the tools are using are exactly the same.
Okay.
So that when they pass, they know they have passed a certain standard which has been set. Let's say welding, there are various standards.
Okay.
So that all of them will be equal.
Right.
And again, I mentioned about assessors because this is very crucial. The assessors, they must be trained properly. They are the people to actually acknowledge that this particular graduate is qualified to be given a certificate in this course at that level.
Right.
And we have also something else we call a verifier because in our assessment, there are 4 levels. The first level is the trainer, who is what we call the internal assessor, who is assessing the student on a daily basis. And then there is also now the verifier. A verifier are 2, the internal verifier and the external verifier. The internal verifier is actually a senior member of staff in that institution
yes.
who can verify that what has been done is true, is correct. Then we have also now external verifier, who is the final person and who comes from industry.
Okay.
And it's the one to come and say, yes, this person qualifies to work in our industry.
Yes. So by the time you actually come out of these institutions, and you are really
you have the actual
for the industry
that's
that you're
right.
required to work for.
And that's why we ensure that you have the necessary skills
Yes.
and the knowledge. But there is also another issue which we have not even stressed, attitude. We have realized, even in your place here, that someone can have all the knowledge and all the skills,
Yes.
but the attitude towards work is very poor. The relationship with him and her with the other workers is very poor.
Okay.
To understand, to take instructions. These are which we're putting in what we call soft skills.
All right.
Very important. Yeah.
All right. Mr. Frederick, let me get this right. Is your institution partnered with one of the industry players, the Rift Valley Technical Training Institute? Is that Toyota Kenya?
Yeah, we're partnered with Toyota Kenya.
So what is the partnership like with Toyota Kenya, and then how do you train your students with these car manufacturers and all of that? And then how is the process really for you in terms of training in partnership with Toyota Kenya?
Yeah, thank you. We signed the MOU just in February, and we've already started that. As I said, we, the trainers and trainers of other TVET institutions, were called in for a seminar, and we were called in at the academy, the Toyota Academy, where they do the training. We're under the technical training manager, and it took us through what we should do or how we should be training our students.
Yes.
We normally train though, but now he's telling us what do they expect us to do. What do we expect? What do they expect our trainers to have and how to do it?
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that Toyota Kenya in the MOU was saying is that they are providing opportunities to graduates of RVTTI so that they can enhance their competencies. Yeah, in servicing and maintenance of motor vehicle, not only Toyota motor vehicles, but many other vehicles that we have. There is also scholarships. They'll provide scholarships to needy students who will attain the level that they want, because they have certain levels. There's also the issue of internship. After graduating, you can go in and have a 1 year. You go and stay there for 1 year. They pay you while you learn more. Then there's also the continuous professional development of trainers and technicians, because you don't need to come to Nairobi. We have a branch already in Eldoret, and there are branches all over there, all over the country. so that that happens, you know, we have the attachment of students.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have that. Then also, we talk about they provide technical support, knowledge and skills through donation of parts. You know, where they have parts that we need to use to train. See that? So they can donate the parts, and also we have what we call
So this
simulators.
happens within the institution, or do you have to go to Mombasa Road or say where they've set up for that to happen? Do they bring those parts and all those the equipment that you require within the institutions?
Yeah, they bring them within so that we use them
Okay.
to train
Okay.
our students.
All right.
But other training, sometimes you can come to Nairobi if there's some new technologies,
All right.
those that you can
You can
use to
partner with
train.
them.
Yeah.
Japheth, the PS was saying, and Professor Charles, that the technical and vocational kind of training is continuous, and that even for someone who's attained a PhD right now might still go back to some of these institutions to learn other skills and improve their skills and all of that. As someone who's graduated and you've entered the job market, do you think then there's, out of your experience, more need for you to go back into the institutions and train a bit further and maybe gain a higher certification and all those things?
Yes, of course. You need to get more trained, as you also learn through online, because the system changes every day.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
Yeah. Every day we have new system in the market, so you have
And
to keep on
technology is
learning.
changing very fast.
Yeah.
All right. PS, the issue of capitation, and for most students who perhaps have not attained university grade, and some that have actually attained university grades, education and especially, from after you've, done your KCSE and now you're going into these institutions, it's, in most cases, it's actually really expensive for most people. A lot of people cannot afford or might have attained some of these grades that you are looking at. What has government done through this capitation policy to ensure that at least those who want to find it a bit, cheap and affordable for them to be able to train within the
Government's policy on technical vocational training is all about access and equity, which means that we need to ensure that young people are able to access technical vocational training throughout their life, that they're able to, their productive life is partnered with promoting access to technical vocational training institutions and courses and certificates, primarily because this is the greatest empowerment that a person requires. And in today's world, where skills and competencies are expected to be dynamic, flexible, and problem-solving in nature, it's important to keep going back to technical vocational training institutions to keep upgrading your skills. The capitation and the HELB loans are primarily for this purpose, that students, irrespective of the high grades that are required to go to university, have a chance to participate in technical vocational training institutions. And it's also to ensure that we're able to bring about the necessary equity from low-income families as well as special needs students to access TVET.
So what is the standard fee required for some of these courses that you have? Give me a range, and then out of that, how much is government investing for each student who then is willing to join and might not have the fee?
So we, as part of our reforms, the overall cost of technical vocational training in our national system, our public institutions, has dropped, has been reduced from 97,000 to approximately 70,000.
So that's certificate, diploma?
Yes, certificate and diploma.
And
that's
diploma.
a yearly fee.
Okay.
And part of it's capitation and part of it is loan.
Okay.
And this then enables a young person to have the adequate resources to go to school. Part of it's also a stipend in consideration of the fact that they may need some money to meet.
Are you able to break down the numbers in terms of how much is loan, how much
yes.
is stipend? And all
so
that?
we have approximately 30,000 being the loan, and 40,000 being the loan, and 35,000 being the bursary, and then the rest being a stipend.
Ah, all right. Yeah. That's quite encouraging for some of the students. Professor, we are talking about the Big Four. One of the issues around the Big Four is manufacturing, of course, and you are at the center of this specific industry, manufacturing industry, because you're the ones who actually train the people who do the actual work, the handiwork, all right? How is your curriculum and your training in general joined to the Big Four agenda of manufacturing?
Let me start with the way they work out the curriculum so that it's favorable with the Big Four. First, our curriculum are developed in terms of units. Now, why do I say units? Is that a course, a full course maybe you have gone through in university takes maybe 3 or 4 years.
Yes.
Now, but inside there are various items you do, what you can call unit. A unit will be a complete. Let's say someone doing food technology. Food technology, making yogurt will be an example of a unit, which will be part of food technology.
Yes.
But with us, we are broken down into all those so that someone can come and do only yogurt, go out, work, and come back and do another maybe cake making and so forth.
Specialization, you mean?
Yes, you can come and specialize.
Okay.
So that there's no question of staying in the college for too long. You can stay what you want, you finish it. And the Big Four require skills, specific skills. So if it is manufacturing, there could be welding. And not the entire welding, there could be gas welding. That's a unit.
All right.
Or arc welding. That's it. So we can train people on that because we have developed our courses in such a way that there are those units. People can come with whole class, be trained. Within a very short time, 3 months, they go out. At the moment, like in the food technology, that is under agriculture, we have developed more than 30 courses, competency-based in agriculture.
Okay.
Then we have developed more than 20 in manufacturing.
Yes.
And when it comes to medical, which we have finished recently, more than 15 of them, all areas we have touched. So there is no question that people don't have the capacity. And what we are also in general doing with the principle of competency-based programs is that we can assess the people in the Chuakari so that they can be involved, like the president was saying, the housing, they can make the parts which will be required.
All right.
So they can be trained on only small pits.
All right, and that then makes it very specific for the training needs that are required. The
That's
PS wanted to interject and say something about this. You, as a government official, of course, are the ones who are expected to drive the Big Four agenda and specifically manufacturing for your case in this. What do you like to say about that?
The Big Four agenda is highly inclusive towards addressing the need to achieving prosperity for all. It's an inclusive system. It promotes, on one hand, the inclusion of the micro, small, medium enterprise sector. On the other hand, the opportunity we has as a nation to include our youth, and their curiosity, their creativity, their resourcefulness. Our agenda and our strategy as government is to ensure that we focus on value chains. If it's, for example, the agricultural sector, from the skills and competencies required to produce more, to be more productive, to be more innovative, to be more efficient in the production stage, and into the processing stage. So if it's agricultural food, it's from seed to fork. If it's textiles, seed to fashion, all the skills and competencies, whether they're multiplier or technical, like marketing, etc., and so on, management and so on, are all inclusive of the TVET reform agenda.
Okay.
The potential of our manufacturing sector being jump-started primarily is closely related to productivity, innovation, and efficiency. Competency-based education training has a direct alignment to this, and therefore has a direct alignment to the GDP. The ambition to promote 15% increase in our GDP with manufacturing is realizable by the investment we put in technical vocational training. But it's the same for healthcare, nursing skills, skills that are required on a technical basis, the operations of machinery and so on, and technology. These need to be far more productive and innovative. So the focus is to create centers of excellence, whether it's in the housing sector, where we're able to ensure that we create alignment of our existing MSME sector to the inputs of the housing sector, or it's the value chains that promote food security and thereby bring about a transformation of not only skills and competencies, but also the management of a farm, the promotion of what we have in terms of our local resources and national resources to be amplified into greater levels of intrinsic value in the entire process. And this is being done through an approach called the Centers of Excellence, where we look at the entire value chain and we map out the necessary skills, and we're able to then train throughout that value chain and ensure that it provides the greatest level of access
So
to young
it's
people.
actually at the center of the manufacturing agenda of the Big Four, what the government calls the Big Four agenda right now. And that's why, that would explain actually why the investment is very heavy towards this. Mwalimu Obiero, we've had students who've attained the C+ and above grades are required for them to join universities, but still prefer to come to technical and vocational training institutions, all right? And as a trainer, why do you think then going through technical and vocational training institutions is better for a student who's attained, say, a B or whatever grade there is, as opposed to going to traditional universities, the ones we are used to?
Thank you. Now, this issue comes when, we have a case in RVTTI when a student was, they came for this Wings to Fly. They're supposed to go to university.
Yes.
But the lady said she's not going to university. She's going to stay at RVTTI so that she can do her architectural, architecture drawing, something like that.
Yes. Why?
Yeah, because
what was her reasoning?
Yeah, she looked at how we were training, because she went through to the classes, and I think she was encouraged, and I think somebody talked to him, and then she opted to stay at RVTTI so that she can continue. And as the normal cases, you can go through the system and attain until you go to the, later on go and get the degree, as Prof said.
Yes.
One of the major reasons why someone, even in future, they are going to go to TVET is that because we have made it flexible. The CBET programs are flexible. You see, in the university, if you go for 5 years, let's say engineering, or 4 years when a degree, if you failed the last year, you are a Form 4, basically, because you have failed. You don't have anything. That cannot happen in TVET. If you finish, by the time you finish even 3 years, you must have got several certificates in terms of unit. Remember I talked about unit?
Yes.
The courses have been divided. There are levels. In fact, we have level 1 up to level 6, up to the total level up to 4, up to university is 10. So all these levels, someone will come and learn and reach somewhere and decide to make money. And come back and continue. Because there's no way someone from a TVET institution can finish without having something, without having a certificate to be employed. And not only that, not just employment, because CBET programs are meant for 3 things, which we should know. There is for employment, to be employed by someone, for self-employment,
yes.
That's very key, very, very important, and for upward mobility. One who wants to go from diploma to degree can go. So those are very, in fact, people who have joined the TVET institutions and they have finished degrees, a diploma, they join still degrees because we have already developed that. They join and they can finish with those one who finished with them and Form 4. So there is no disadvantage. In fact, there is more advantage in going to TVET institution than going to universities.
Yeah. Let me come to you, Japhet. It's still on this issue of advising someone perhaps who've attained a degree to go to university, who is able to. Would you tell them between a university kind of setup and a technical and vocational training kind of setup, having that experience, do you think then it is good for someone who has attained that grade to start from at least a technical and vocational training and then grow upwards if it is in areas of, say, automotive engineering and all those other areas that they focus on in these institutions?
Yeah, because when you start with those technical schools, you'll get trained, you learn, you get trained, and you have skills.
Okay.
And it is in universities, I think you can get trained, but you don't have skills.
At the end of the day, yes.
So that's why I prefer going to technical schools, then you develop from there.
All right.
Yeah.
Yes. PS, let's talk about placement. You have a partnership with Toyota Kenya in some of your institutions, and like you said, you're able to get internships and all of that. But the number of students you're churning out is very high. Not all of them are going to fit at, say, Toyota Kenya. Is the government and your department doing anything in terms of placement for some of your graduates to be able to be fitted into specific areas of their training, one? And two, what is the importance of this on self-employment? Because we are talking about high, rates of unemployment within the country among the youth. What is the importance of this kind of training on self-employment?
Right. And so government's policy is all about trying to see to it that we, within our systems of infrastructure, equipment, train-the-trainer programs, our accreditation and quality assurance systems are all dedicated to ensuring that we promote the highest level of competencies and capacities. Mm-hmm. This would in turn promote the highest level of chance for and prospect for a young person to be gainfully or self-employed. Further to that, we are seeking the support of all stakeholders. First and foremost, it's at county level, where as much as the government is putting effort and emphasis on capacity development in technical vocational training, the aspects of opportunity have to be a collective responsibility. Yes. If there's an infrastructure project in a county, then it has to be closely linked to a TVET institution. If there's ongoing programs in terms of the development of the MSME sector, those could be linked to technical vocational training institutions. This has to be an affirmative action by all. The industry in itself is being encouraged to participate in view of the fact that they need to consider our efforts as government as an investment, a big-time investment in their productivity, innovation, and efficiency, which ultimately would lead to their transformation and profitability. Mm-hmm. With that in mind, industry has to play a much affirmative role. They need to be involved in not only the relevance and quality of curriculum, the potential and the feedback that's required in order to ensure that we have absolute alignment with their requirements. They have to be involved in ensuring that the equipment is appropriate and mm-hmm. certain other equipments be catered for. The possibility of apprenticeship and work-integrated learning programs that would see to it that the transition from training to self-employment and gainful employment is complete. And this would then create the necessary volumes of skilled and competent people mm-hmm. that would be truly transformative to their industry and have a direct link to their further investment within the industry. So we need to turn this entire mindset around to a value proposition mindset. Yes. But in order for a value proposition outcome to be achieved, we need to all work together. The aspects of civil society, and in particular also awareness creation systems, which include media too, the importance of creating a national debate on aspects of access, equity, quality, and relevance so that reforms take place and that the entire national system is highly responsive, dynamic, and flexible. And finally, the skilled people. They're those who are professionally skilled within industry today, within society. Within the national framework of competency-based education training, they could also spend a little bit of their time to ensuring that they transfer skills to students. And it could also be in the form of them being on the boards of these institutions to set the right pace in governance, fiduciary responsibilities, and the transformation of industry. So the effort is collective mm-hmm. to the extent that it's an ecosystem that promotes outcomes of placement into self-employment and gainful employment. And this entire national system is based on a legislation which for the first time promotes that inclusivity. Mm-hmm. So it's not supply-driven, but it's co-creation, its ability to co-create the next generation of opportunity for our young youth.
What are the numbers like in terms of, and you have stressed this really, students who've attained that grade of C+ and above and then opt then to join technical and vocational training institutions. What are the numbers according to your last registration or enrollment?
Well, those that have, there's been a substantial increase. Mm-hmm. We had approximately 170 students who had attained higher grades academically but decided to enroll in TVET training institutions. Mm-hmm. This, of course, is growing as students realize that they need to be mentored and appreciate what they are very good at. Some are gifted with their hands, their minds, their imagination. Mm-hmm. Some are gifted academically. But the pathways have to be created for them to choose. Right. And that requires mentorship. Mm-hmm. And so a lot more needs to be done nationally to help our youth understand what they're good at
Yes.
and also realize the fact that young people transition from all different backgrounds, but also their entire life is evolutionary, and therefore
Exactly.
they need to have choice throughout.
Yes, and I want to talk to Professor Charles here about that. So what he says about the transitions and young people having different skills and all of that. So when you hold things like career fairs, like the one you had earlier, what do you talk to prospective students about? You know, in terms of, you might have this skill, you might have this knowledge, and therefore this is the appropriate sort of training and course for you. Do you have those kinds of interactions with students to help them or make better choices, informed choices as to the courses that they are going to take up?
We do have, we have had meetings in the TVET institutions when we go for this curriculum development, and we meet trainers as well as the student, and also meet also some employers together. And they have appreciated. One thing which I've noticed of late is that private sector has really appreciated to be involved in government activity, which they were never.
Okay.
When last 2 weeks, when we had a meeting at Kenya School of Monetary Studies, over 400 employers came. Over 400. That shows the number has been increasing. In fact, when we started the curriculum in 2016, it was coming 50, then it jumped to 100, 200, 300. Now everyone is coming. And we are talking to them about the issue of collaboration with the government in terms of training and how they can avail also their places for the internship, so that we can make work integrated learning better. But also, one thing which we have not done, and I think we need to do, is to visit secondary schools. This is something which we need. I think it will be more effective.
At a time when students are about to do their
to talk about the cases here, the final year. We talk to them and we tell them exactly what, because now any information they have is through other people like those students we talk to. But we need actually to make an effort to start visiting the secondary schools. And there will be a very, very big impact. And also this kind of program. You know, people are watching. It's very effective.
In terms of this. Mr. Frederick, with an increase in the number of enrollments of students, obviously you're going to have a bit of challenges in terms of perhaps infrastructure, equipment, and facilities in general. Do you have some of these at RVTTI, and how have you addressed those challenges?
Thank you. Now, normally we have, we used to have, there was CASP fund, and then there was the Devotra. Then now there are a group of people, I think, to China. So we, in our place, we have the infrastructure, we have the equipment, we have working auto garage, which is a public auto garage. People bring their vehicles, and we use it for internship. Even our students go there for those facilities. But now I cannot talk about the other institutions, because there are some young institutions that are coming up.
Okay, but with the ones that you have, is there an imbalance between the number of students that you have that should be trained in some of the equipment that you have then for that?
No, I think we just have enough.
You have enough?
Yeah, we have enough students for that.
What is the number of students in your institution? Right?
The total number of students in the institution?
Yes.
We are around 7,000. It's going high because of...
wow. Yeah. At Eldoret alone?
In RVTTI itself, not
RVTTI.
Eldoret.
So there's one in Nakuru, I think?
That is Arvist.
Oh, that's Arvist.
Yeah.
So RVTTI Eldoret is just 7,000?
7,000 students.
Wow.
That
is, has it grown over the years, as a PS would say?
Yeah, it's grown so much.
Okay.
We used to, we had 2,000, 3,000, some, I think 5-7 years ago.
All right.
So
and what is the transition like in terms of perhaps students who've graduated before from your institution, or the ones who've gone to universities and attained, say, masters, PhDs? Do we have some of them coming back to your institution to acquire some of these skills?
There's some, but mostly we have, they go and come back as teachers. They come as teachers because some of them, we have some few students at Toyota Kenya.
Yes.
In Eldoret, the Uasin Gishu government also sponsors students, and then when they graduated, the governor employed some of them, and also gave them tenders. Now they are as they give them tenders. So you find that we as they go out, we churn out, and they.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go back to our panel discussing technical vocational education training within the country, the reforms, and what the numbers look like right now. Bona PS, you've just informed me that the number of students who attained C+ and above university grades and opted for TVET institutions is 597, been growing up from 70. So that's the latest from early 2019,
That's right.
this year.
That's correct.
All right, let me come to you, Japheth. A lot of students, when they go to these institutions to train, whether university, TVET institutions, or whatever kind of institution there is, they worry about employment. Will I get a job? This course that I am doing, how is it out there in terms of the opportunities that there are? How was the experience for you in terms of just, getting into the job market? And did you have to tarmac, as Kenyans say, for a long time, out of your training?
To me,
Yes.
I did not tarmac.
Okay.
I went straight away to the company, but I think I worked for 1 week.
Okay.
1 week. Then I decided to get self-employed. Yeah. Comparing what I used to be paid there and what I could earn, so it could make sense.
Was this after an internship of some sort with a placement from the institution that you were in?
There is something I told you earlier. From the school and TTI, Nairobi
Yes.
Technical,
Yes.
I could repair a car directly from the school without getting a test.
All right.
Yeah.
So going forward, are you thinking of maybe setting up your own station, or do you think the skills that you have would be better used in the setup of employment or self-employment?
Yeah. Sometimes back, I used to have a big garage, but to me, it was not making sense.
Okay.
I decided to have what you call motor vehicle clinic, where I deal with complicated cars, where somebody has decided to repair but is not working.
Right.
So I repair those kind of cars.
All right.
Yeah. So when you come there, I give you the budget. This is how we're going to do it. Whether 1 minute you give me 100,000. Yeah, something like that.
So you're actually comfortable?
I'm very comfortable. In fact, I want to advise anyone to get employed. It's
All
really
right.
wastage of time. The people I left working in the company,
Yes.
they are much more, I'm ahead of them.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's.
I can explain exactly why.
Okay.
What he says. You know, these are some of the things which have made us to start competence-based. You know, the competence itself has knowledge, skills, and attitude. Now, most people who are out, the garages, who you know them, this Chuakari, they only know the skill, they have the skills. They are not able to understand why certain things happen the way they are.
Okay.
Now, he may understand, so he can be able to solve the more complicated, what he calls complicated issues, because he has got the competence.
All right.
So that's why he's very comfortable in solving that. And that is the advantage of having competence-based curriculum, where someone is whole. And he knows how to deal with people because of the attitude.
All right.
Yeah.
Bona PS, final comments. Of course, with the measures that you've put in place and the reforms and the investment that you've put in place, you're going to see the numbers go up and up and up. You're talking about 190,000. You're saying your target is 400,000 at some stage. Increase in numbers largely means you're going to have to also, top up in terms of investment, building some of these institutions, equipping them appropriately. What is the government's plan going forward with regard to that?
It's true that there'll be an overwhelming interest in TVET going forward, primarily because of its importance in development and its strategic positioning towards the achievement of the Big Four. We're expecting that within the next 5 years that the enrollment will increase to 1 million young people within TVET institutions. This will require a lot more infrastructure, equipment, and training capacity. It'll require a collective effort. County governments are expected to provide greater access to lands, support us and complement national government's efforts in terms of scholarships and other kinds of programs and structures. we're also expecting the productive sector to play a much larger role. There's, of course, a huge deficit. Currently, our department runs on 15 billion Kenya shillings. It's expected that this full blown-out system will cost us approximately 64 billion Kenya shillings, and that'll require a collective effort. But the case for investment is that it's a value proposition for productivity, innovation, efficiency. It's indeed the fastest way for government to receive funding back, because once a person is trained and is into industry, they pay tax.
All right.
And so it's a collective outcome. I would also like to mention that as part of the transformation, today's technical vocational training institution has outcomes of skills development, upskilling, continuous professional development, incubation, creating ideas, enterprise creation, where we're focused on, if it's a farm, creating a farm manager for tomatoes, thereby scaling the possibility. If it's automotive, a workshop manager, thereby promoting the possibility of enterprise. Innovation, promotion of science, technology, and innovation. And most of all, you know, and above all, you know, the alignment to community needs. Technical vocational training institutions are there to serve the community.
All right. All right. Mr. Frederick, final comments. You know, technology is rapidly changing. Today we are talking about manual or automatic cars. Tomorrow we are talking about electric cars. You're talking about, you know, 5G is being rolled out in different countries right now. The US and South Korea are all that. It means there's a lot of changes in some of the things you train your students on. As someone who's been trained by them and someone who trains students, do you think there is need for you know, consistent training on your part from the people who drive this agenda and to your students, as a final comment?
Yeah, I think in the TVET Act, there's a trainer is supposed to go for an in-service or an attachment to the industry once in 3 years. Yes, and as a trainer, I've been to DT Dobby, I've been to CMC, then now to TVET Kenya the other day. So if it is implemented, I think you have to do it, because we are training people who are going to the field.
Yes.
And the thing we are talking about here is that the needs of the industry.
And they keep changing.
And they keep changing and rapidly, because we used to have carburetor. And for a long time, our assessment or exams that we do and the curriculum, we used to train on carburetor. I believe Japhet went through carburetor, and it came in the exam.
All right.
This time we have the EFI, we have the VVTI, and we have many other improvements on even the braking system. Not only even the braking system, the suspension system. So there's need for
consistent
trainers
going
to
forward.
Continue.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Unfortunately, we cannot continue because of time right now. Thank you so much for the discussion we've had today on technical and vocational education and training within Kenya, the reforms and the investment the government has put in place to ensure that young Kenyans who want to train through these institutions, and even Kenyans who've trained in the past in certain areas of specialization, can still go back to some of these institutions to get more training. Dr. TVET Desai, the Principal Secretary for the State Department for Vocational and Technical Training, Professor Charles Undieki, who is the Chairman of the TVET Certification Council. We had Japhet Mwanzia, Automotive Alumni at the Nairobi Technical Training Institute, as well as Mr. Frederick Obiero, who is an automotive engineering trainer at Rift Valley Technical Training Institute. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen.